Are you and Chris planning to make your cuts from 80 to 53 today or tomorrow morning, or do you think you'll bring 80 guys to practice tomorrow and then deal with the cuts after?
We'll probably we're actually just meeting on this. Make a few today, and then make some. The finals tomorrow. Obviously, have to do that tomorrow by 4. So, it's always a tough day. It's always tough decisions to make. You start thinking about what you're going to say to the player. But yeah, probably some today and some tomorrow.
Great. And my other thing was Jalen Phillips. You have a very interesting player there. I guess the way we saw you use him yesterday and in camp, sometimes he's on right side, sometimes left, sometimes stand up linebacker, other times hand in the ground. Would you mind explaining just the thinking and deciding to use him that way as opposed to being just a full-time hand in the ground defensive end?
Well, the way we structure the defense, it's not a 4-3 where there's just full-time defensive ends on the field at all times. So we have a little bit more of a hybrid scheme where we could be up, we could be down, we could be 4 down, but it could be base, we could be in a few different fronts. So I think that we feel like Jalen can do a few different things. I think maybe some different things on early downs and some different things in some obvious passing situations. And we wanted to just see him in those roles yesterday. I think that's the goal for him, is to play a few different positions. But right now we're just kind of checking to see where he's comfortable, and then as a staff we'll talk about it and kind of review things and see where we want to use him during the regular season.
Thanks, Mike.
Steve?
Hi, Brian. I'm wondering, to what extent do you see cut day as a gauge of your roster strength? For example, when you're cutting guys you see as promising and with a lot of upside, do you think that's a reflection that the guys you're keeping, it gives you a pretty good feeling?
I think we feel good about some positions. I think I understand the question. I think I never want to get too far ahead or say, hey, we've got this super situation. I think I'm sorry, I'm like watching The View here on somebody's screen. This is really throwing me off. WPLJ. Okay. You guys see this?
No.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, at some positions, we're going to have to make some tough cuts, and with guys who are, we feel like are roster players in the National Football League. When you have to make those decisions, they become, they're tough. It makes you feel good about, some the other players at that position, but at the same time, it's hard to let good players go. So we feel okay about where we're at. We know we're gonna have to make some tough cuts. And we'll always try to do what's best for the team.
Josh?
Hi, Coach. Curious to know what you think the identity of your team built during the preseason, now going into the regular season.
I think it's a group that's tough. They try to play in some discipline. I think it's a team with versatility, offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game, or potential to have this versatility, I should say. I won't say we're versatile just yet. But tough and smart, and they compete. And I think you saw that last night or yesterday. And we just got to continue to improve. I think they work hard. They work hard to improve. And hopefully we just continue with that and make improvements, throughout the year, and take it one day at a time.
Cam?
Good morning, Flo. How you doing? I know you spoke a little bit about this, or a lot about this yesterday, and obviously there's been a lot said about Deshaun Watson and everything going on with the rumors there. I'm curious how you relate to your locker room, your team, with all of this going on, with the season coming up in a week or two.
I mean, there's always rumors. There's always speculation. There's always some form of distractions. And I think as a team, we always, we got to block that stuff out and play. I thought they did that yesterday. And I think that's something that, all players deal with in the National Football League. There's always something going on. There's always something that some form of speculation or controversy. And, we block it out, we ignore it, and we move on.
Travis?
Hey, Coach, going back to kind of the roster cuts discussion. I know these next 24 hours are never easy for you and your staff, but I wanted to ask if you could maybe speak to the value of the contributions made during this training camp and off season by the guys who might not be here for week one. Like, in what ways did those guys make this team better for 2021?
I think we've had a very competitive group at all positions. I think, the players you mentioned, the guys who, we may have to move on from. I think, in a lot of instances, just in our conversations this morning, they've made our team better because they've pushed some of the guys that we're going to keep. Steve kind of mentioned this. I think that's, probably some of the things that we're seeing is, there's been a lot of good competition, and that's pushed guys and helped some other guys play a little bit better. So we're, those guys, I think they're, like I said, there's going to be some guys who we feel like are roster players in this league, and we have to, move on from them. But I think they certainly helped our team this training camp.
Hal?
Brian, in the 3 years now that you've been here, we've seen you bring in some players who sort of are in need of a second chance because of things in their past. What is your philosophy toward granting players those second chances? How do you weigh their skill on the football field versus any concerns you may have off the field? And does public opinion count in any way when you make these decisions?
I think there's a lot of things that we weigh when we're making decisions. Fit on the team, overall talent, salary cap. But I think when we are, Chris, myself, a coaching staff, when we're talking about a player or players, we're always trying to do what's best for the Miami Dolphins and the organization. And there's a lot of variables there. We want a group that's tough, that's smart, that's competitive, that loves to play, that's team first. I think those are the types of guys we're looking for. When anytime we're looking at any player, which again, I think you're referencing, the cuts that are going on, and there's a lot of players that are going to be available via claim, via potentially trade. As we talk through those types of players, how do they fit on our team? And there's a lot of variables there. But at the end of the day, we always try to do what's best for the team.
When these guys come in, for lack of a better term, do you say, hey, this is you're down your last strike. We want you to stay on the straight and narrow path? Do you make that clear?
I think there's with any player on our team, honestly, any person in the organization, there's a standard of we have a standard of the way we want people to look. We have a high standard for the people we have in the organization. So I don't get into blast strikes or anything. We just, we want the people with high character and throughout the building. And that's what we're looking for.
Adam?
So I wanted to ask you specifically about Tua now through his second training camp, first preseason. What specifically has he done better, and where does he still need to improve?
I think he's much more comfortable with, his surroundings here in this area. I think he's taken a step as far as leadership and working with his teammates to get things right, whether it's the center and his, cadence, receivers and routes, ball handling with the backs. I think he's asking more questions to us as a coaching staff situationally. Hey, would you take a timeout here? Should we get it out of bounds here? How many yards do we need, in a 2-minute to get a field goal? So I think he's made some very good strides, and there's still a lot of room for improvement, and hopefully we continue to make improvement.
We got time for 2 more. First one will be Tim Reynolds, Associated Press.
Thank you. Good morning, Coach. To go back to the cuts for a second, I guess kind of a 2-parter. How do you prepare yourself for those 27 or I guess however many conversations you're going to have in the next couple of days that aren't exactly going to be enjoyable? And what's the balance between sort of maybe the inherent dread of those talks versus the excitement that you're 30 hours away from having your team?
Look, I just try to be honest with the guys and tell them the truth, tell them what we saw, tell them the truth. If I feel like a guy's got a place in this league and he's gonna play somewhere, then I tell him that. I tell him here's what we thought as to why this didn't work out. Here's some things you need to improve on. They're honest, whether it's mental errors, whether it's technique fundamentals, whether it's you are in a room with a deep group. I just try to tell them the truth, and I think most players are receptive to that. Obviously, it's a disappointing conversation for a lot of guys. I think practice squad is part of that conversation as well. If we feel like a guy is, we want him back to be on our practice squad, and I kind of talk to them about that situation and other guys who have been practice squad and been moved up and how they've gotten their opportunity in this league that way. So it's just a very honest conversation that normally kind of ties in their performance during the training camp, the spring and training camp, and my thoughts on their future.
Thank you.
All right, we got time for 1 more, Cam.
Hey, Flo, if you'll humor me a bit, I know maybe a year or 2 ago, you told us that you started your career as the Turk or the Grim Reaper. Do you have someone in your org that plays that role? And if so, could you reveal them and maybe what you'd say to them about how to handle this situation?
Yeah, we've got a few guys, who handle that. And we've had conversations. We just got to be respectful. Know it's a tough situation. It's a disappointing situation for the players. So just be respectful. Understand that there may be some emotions that arise, and that could be a variety of emotions. When I had that job, I got a few stories of different situations that occurred. I'm not going to get into those right now, but as you could imagine, for a young guy who hears that news, it's not something that there's a lot of emotions there. So, just be respectful, and it's a delicate situation, and just be respectful. That's kind of my message to those guys.